Hello again, and it's that time of the month again for another rant video, where once again you find me once again drunk in a pub, which as we all know is the natural environment of a Brit. So, what is today's topic on my pub rant? That's right, we are covering the Brazilian Expeditionary Forces. Those are a thing, by the way. So, World War II. Now, coming in from a layman's perspective, you may know of this conflict. You know, the big battles, Normandy, Midway, Stalingrad, the Battle of Britain. And, you know, if you've done a little bit of your homework, you might know things like Operation Market Garden, or the Battle of El Alamein, and the Desert Rats. But these are the big boy battles, right? The big three, the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union. They're the ones that get, of course, press coverage of their battles, because they were the major players. Of course, they weren't the only players. It's not called a World War for nothing. But we're not going to talk about any of those countries, because we're going to talk about Brazil. Which, of course, you knew already. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the start of this video, you know that we're talking about Brazil. So, here is a map of every single country that was involved in World War II and on what side. Like I said, it wasn't called a World War for nothing. But if we take this exact same map, we just slightly tweak it. Here's our exact same map, but only showing the countries that sent ground troops to fight. Now, of course, we have ones that you'd expect. We've got France, the US, Canada, Britain, the Soviets, China, India, Siam, Japan, that's the Axis, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Brazil. Because believe it or not, Brazil was the only Latin American country to send ground troops during the Second World War. And they were known as Cobras Fumantes, the smoking snakes. So, basically, back during World War II, both the Axis and the Allies had been trying to pressure Brazil into joining, and Brazil had just kind of remained neutral, given they were one of the largest economies in the Western Hemisphere at the time, but were also a dictatorship, and so America wanted them to start holding elections if they joined the Allies. Well, of course, if they went with the side of the Axis, they would be directly at war with the United States, which would not be good for them. But eventually Brazil made their choice, and they chose the side of the United Nations alliance. And Brazil went to war. So, why are they called Cobras Fumantes? Well, in quite a lot of the Western world, we of course have the expression of when pigs fly, of it being an impossibility. Well, there is a Brazilian Portuguese version of this, which is when snakes smoke. And this started because of the delay in Brazil's entry into the war, as they had pledged to join the war back in 1942, but it took them all the way until late 43 to actually begin mass mobilization. And, well, that was down to those factors we already mentioned of Brazil's very just edgy ties to being an authoritarian dictatorship and, not wanting to anger the US and etc. And so it kind of became clear that while Brazil had declared war on the Axis, they would not see troops in Europe at all, despite their commitments to do so, because it was just simply impossible. With phrases going around like, oh, when we see Brazilian troops in Europe will be the day that snakes smoke. And then they created the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, which was shipped off to Europe. And, well, they gained the moniker of the Smoking Snakes as a result of that. So, it's time for the Brazilians to join the war, and where are they going to go? Maybe the Eastern Front, fighting alongside the Soviet Union. The Western Front, which has just opened up after the invasion of Normandy, and is currently holding a standstill on the Siegfried Line against the Germans. Nope, they went to Italy. A seldom talked about front in the Second World War, and one that really deserved its own video in the series. So, during their time in Italy, the Brazilians would take part in a number of battles, most famously the Battle of Monte Castello, and later at Calicio, where they actually had the Germans surrender to them. Which I just thought it was really interesting to bring up this image here, and it's just interesting to see the Brazilians capturing a German commandant. And the Brazilians would continue fighting in Italy all the way up to the German surrender. And, well, a little bit after that to help in the rebuilding and stabilization of Italy. And to Brazil, the legacy of these men that fought in Europe is very well remembered. It is, to them, one of their proudest achievements during the Second World War, to have been able to send ground troops over to fight in Europe. However, for the rest of the world, this is not very well known, and to me that is just a little bit, well, it's just a little bit sad, to be honest, because, like I said, history is all about finding these little stories, these little tiny events that are quite of a niche topic, but really deserve to be told. And Brazil's commitments in the Second World War is one of them, for the sacrifice that they made alongside the rest of the United Nations lines, even if it does not get talked about. However, this would all change when the Swedish metal band Sabaton, in their album Heroes, would make a song about Cobras Fumantes. Sabaton, of course, having a tradition of having songs and albums based around specific military events and conflicts. And this song became so popular, especially in Brazil, that it is now used as an official marching song by the Brazilian Armed Forces. I managed to find a clip of this, so let's give it a listen. as you can see, an incredibly interesting tale here from the Second World War, and to those men who died fighting for the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, Cobras Famantes Eterna e Sua Victoria. And, well, I thank you all for watching and listening to this little ramble. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and I will see you next month for another rant in which we'll be... Oh. Hello, Velociraptor. What are you doing here? And oh. Hello, Velociraptor. I guess that's next month's topic. I will see you then. Goodbye.